Okay, hello and welcome to this next interview where I'm delighted to be joined by Craig Conway, who's a critically acclaimed actor and producer with over 50 credits to his name, according to IMDb. There's probably more that I haven't seen, but I've been doing my homework. Born in 1975 in South Shields, apparently. Craig, he's lived and worked in London for many years, but then he actually returned to the Northeast just before the COVID lockdown to try and help nurture a new creative hub right here in Washington. So delighted to be joined by Craig. So hi Craig, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good, Paul, and really good to be here. So thank you for the invitation. Nice to be back in the Northeast as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, when I heard you were coming back, I was really excited to hear that because we've been chatting for a little while. I think we've been chatting for a couple of years, maybe longer, like off and on, and kind of we'd never actually met up in person, but we had a Zoom chat like near the beginning of the lockdown when you first moved back up here. But obviously I'm aware of your work. I've seen some of your films and loved them, and really impressive body of work that you've got there. But first question I want to ask is why come back? Why come back to the Northeast?
I think, okay, well, there was definitely the whole pandemic thing has had a huge effect on what's gone on, because I felt London, out of all the places, especially because I've got 12-year-old boy, is that thing of thinking, oh God, do I really want to be in a city that is that packed and full of people, and so that was one of the main reasons to get out of London. And also, I'd met my partner now, Andrea, and so that was there was two things going on there, kind of all happening at the same time, and then you don't have a choice really. You suddenly find yourself, because of the pandemic, going, well, this is it. When we're now in lockdown, we're up here in the north, and the idea of going back to London once you come out of it, I think the pandemic helped me to see that I didn't have to be part of this rat race anymore. And in our industry, 20 odd years ago when I started acting, well, actually no, almost 30 years ago, London was everything. Everything was centered in London. You had to be there. That was how you could make it. That was how you would do whatever. But that has changed now. Auditions are all done online, or you record them. Voiceover work is all just, you can do it from home. And so it was a real opportunity to start living again rather than just existing, which I think a lot of people tend to do in London. You just kind of work, exist, and then that's it. And I didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah, I can't have enough of it.
Yeah, I can see, like, obviously for the networking side of things, you need to be close proximity to people. But if that's taken away because there's no networking going on, you can't go to any events, then, and like you say, that you take that bit away, then why do you need to be in London when you can have a lower cost of living and arguably higher quality of life in the regions, like back in the north again, and especially technology, like you say, if you're doing auditions online now, and when you're filming, you can be literally anywhere in the world, can't you? So it doesn't really matter where you live. You can work anywhere, but you can live where you want as well. So coming back, how's that been since you've come back? Because when we first talked, you said, although we'll go into this in a little bit, you have maintained some strong links to the north and the northeast as well over the years. But when we first spoke, you were saying you didn't really have a network here when you came back, because most of your network is
down south,
London or elsewhere. So how's that been? Has it been difficult for you coming, or has it been nice, like starting again? Do
you know what? Yeah, I think that there's kind of two sides to it. That it's quite daunting coming back to the northeast, because when I left here, really, I was still quite young, but I'd firmly kind of based myself with Northern Stage and places like that. I'd worked at the Live Theatre. I'd done a lot of theatre and education and touring into communities and stuff like that. Brothers Theatre Company, all of those. So when my career went into television and film, and I ended up going down to London, I always maintained a connection to people up here. But over the years, it all kind of, people move on, do different things. So when I came back this time, I was like, I actually don't know anybody. Again, I don't really know what anybody's doing. So that was quite daunting and a bit overwhelming. And because of the lockdown scenario as well, I couldn't meet up with anybody and chat to anybody properly. So then I kind of phoned a few friends and said, look, I've got an idea for a radio show where I'll just chat to people I've worked with over 30 years about nothing and everything. And they said, oh yeah, we'll put you on a community radio and you can try it. So we trialed that, and that went really well. And myself and Andrew just had a load of fun talking to actors from LA and actors from London. That went really well. And then I thought about Washington and the town that I moved back to, which is where I kind of ran away from as a kid, really, because I kind of never felt at the time I could fit in here. I wanted something more, and I didn't know what it was. Uh-huh. And then coming back, I've realised that actually I probably could have done everything I'm wanting to do now had I stayed. I just didn't know how to do it. Yeah. So it's been amazing because I've met people now from this town and Andrea's friends and Harvey meeting new kids and families. And I'm starting to realise how brilliant this place is. And I've always loved the Northeast, mm-hmm. but reconnecting to it now is it's been a really brilliant experience. And that little radio show that we did has now turned into a radio station. So now Washington has its own radio station, which is just bizarre, but they're exciting.
That's good. So is that the Newtown radio?
Newtown radio, yeah.
So, so that's still running now? I know you've been doing it.
Yeah, that's up and running, and that's every day, all week. But we've just connected to the Washington Arts Centre. Mm-hmm. So we're going to trial basing it in the Arts Centre so that we can then help promote what the Arts Centre is doing as well, and see how we can gather more people towards that, brilliant space. Because there's so many artists and creatives there. And I'm hoping that's where the D15 kind of home and production life will start to come from there. And we can be in that space if we can, get the support behind us and start making some shows and films.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, just before we started recording, we were talking about that kind of need to be creative and have an outlet. So having the radio show it sounds like it's been really good for you and for the other friends of yours to keep doing something, to keep sharing information and ideas with people. And because I know the answer already, but you get a lot from that, like energy and bouncing ideas from other people.
Yeah, I love it. I love working with people, and I think I really fall in love with people's stories, mm-hmm. and I've never met anybody yet who hasn't got a story, and that's the thing I really want to get into. Even our radio show, talking to people, we've got a new show we're developing at the moment, which is just about the lives of the community, and about what people are doing, and people are just interesting, So, and I think as an actor, sometimes you can become a bit, self-obsessed, and it's all about, what part and who you're working with and what level you're at and all this and how many credits you got on your IMDb, all this kind of stuff. And now I've kind of really fallen out with all that world, really. I'm just not interested. I'm interested in people. Yeah. Maybe it's because I'm getting old.
I don't know. Maybe that's what makes you a good actor, because you're interested in people and you're telling stories, aren't you? You are a storyteller as an actor. Yeah. So it's just looking in different places, new places for those stories. Because like you say, there's probably pretty everyday stories, to some people quite mundane, but actually they're really fascinating and interesting, especially if you're not from the area, or if you moved away and then you've come back, you see it with a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of potential in this town as well. I mean, I was quite shocked at how big it is. And there's 68,000 residents here. I'm like, that is a huge town. Yeah. And in equidistant between three cities, yet there's been this slight sense of lack when you talk to people around the town. They always go, "Oh, don't really know where Washington's going or what it's doing." But there are many people trying to focus on it and doing little things. And I'm like, okay, well, if we can unite that and bring it together, we can do something really special, all of us, and everybody can benefit from that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I was most excited about, or when I knew you were coming back, because I think if that's all you've ever known, you can't necessarily see it for yourself. But if you come in from outside, or you move away and come back, you do have that national or international perspective, and then you can bring in your network as well. So like there's a phrase called them like boomerangs, people who've moved away and then come back, and then they bring their skills and their expertise and their network with them, and that raises the bar for everyone. So and I've seen more and more boomerangs coming back to the Northeast in the last probably 2 years, because they're at a stage in their life where they're looking for, raise a family, or just a different quality of life, or they're coming back for family reasons, to take care of relatives or whatever. But I think that's a good sign when people are coming back. And when you were talking before about how London used to be the epicenter of everything, I remember, I think it was last year, Wayne Hemingway. Do you know Wayne Hemingway, Red or Dead? So there was an event, the Exhibition of the North was on, and he was giving a talk, and he was saying when he was first starting out, he's originally from Morecambe in the northwest, and everybody left the regions to go down London. But he said now all of his friends, he said, the most interesting people he knows, they're all leaving London and going back to where they came from, or heading north.
Yeah.
So he was saying, look, the north is where it's at now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think he's right, and I love Wayne Hemingway. Actually, I think he's brilliant. And I think the Northeast, the problem has been for so long that when everybody's focusing down there, London International, but when Media City happened in Manchester, the opportunities are so greater in the north, even when it comes down to filming things. The locations that you've got access to, the travel times are far less than London, and it's not as restrictive here. I mean, you can't shoot anywhere in London without it costing you a mighty fortune. It's just insane. But also, I think there's a real passionate people up here. People are so much more open, 100%. And I'm still quite shocked at that. How when you come back here, you can say good morning to somebody on the street and they're not going to think you're going to mug them. It's like in London, still people do not connect in the same way we do up here.
Yeah, I think people might think it's a stereotype or cliche or whatever, but it is true. Like that's not normal. Like you don't get that everywhere. I mean, I think Liverpool's similar. Like Scousers are similar. Some of the Scottish are similar. But yeah, not everywhere is the same as the Northeast. That kind of like you say, openness and welcome and generosity. But I always say to people, like, if you're not from the area and you come in, if you show an interest in the area, people love that. Like I love it, and other people love nothing more than showing people around and not showing off, but like trying to get them to fall in love with the area. And if people do generally show an interest or loving it, then you're one of us instantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
As if you come here with a bit of an attitude and where you're better than the North, then that's when you might find it difficult. But if you embrace it, you're one of us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is so true. I know a few people who came here to visit, or they were touring in shows years ago, and they ended up staying. People just don't want to leave once they're here.
That's the hardest bit, getting people here, because once they're here, they do generally love it and want to keep coming back, or like you say, stay here.
Yeah.
Just got to get more people here. But yeah, so okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the D15. So do you want to explain a bit more about what that is and what you're trying to do with it?
Yeah, so we launched the radio station to give us a bit of a voice really within the town. And then one of the things I wanted to do was to set up almost, I guess, in a way, a production company that could make theatre or kind of multimedia projects and different kind of, ways of doing that, whether it be theatre and music and collaboration or whatever. But it was to tell stories about communities and about people, and also use creativity to bring about a sense of well-being for people. Because I think the benefits of creative outlets needs to be, much more highlighted for people. So we started speaking to the Washington Academy, the schools here, about a lot of the social disorder and a lot of the community concern groups that are around. And Washington has struggled because they've got a lot of unemployment here. There's a lot of low income families, single parents. There's a lot of kind of drug use and alcohol abuse here. There's been severe amounts of mental health issues, and it's been much more on the rise now since COVID. So I spoke to the local police services here as well, and spoke to a few of the people who I know are working in the community, and said I wanted to create a company that would be devoted to bringing the positivity through telling their stories, helping them to understand where they've been on their journey and how they can better themselves by taking something that may have happened to them, which is negative, and bringing about a positive. So that's, I guess that's where the company wants to be in the future. And maybe we have a center we can eventually have where people can come and congregate. But meanwhile, I thought the only way to do that is to set about a project, which I've kind of loosely titled Tales of Newtown. And this will be a year's worth of community contact with people from all ages, all backgrounds, to try and find this identity of what this town is, what its people is, where we've been, where we are, and where we think we should be going to, and create a multimedia kind of performance and series of works and exhibition, if you like. And I've just chatted to a publisher the other day about the idea of perhaps creating an anthology. So all of these lives eventually will have a publication, we'll have a photographic exhibition with stories, poetry, and then a feature docudrama where we'll go in and out of fantasy and reality. And I'm hoping to be working with Alan Price, who was born here in Pressfield, and take his music and sew it all together with that. So there's quite a lot of work to do. But I just think that way it'll allow me to really connect with as many people as possible from this town, and then we can extend that out into the region and do similar works here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, I think the word Newtown is a great one as well, because it's, Washington is one of the, is that what you call them, new towns?
Yeah. Originally it was Washington Newtown in the 60s, and it had this. It was very ambitious when they came here.
It was built, wasn't it? So there was nothing there before.
Yeah.
It was built Newtown.
And it was all about self-sustainability, how you could live, work, and benefit your community, and how, if you had your little townships and villages. I think at the time they were all districts, which is why we called it D15, because I think where we are based in Washington, this area was considered District 15. And of course, they got rid of that because everybody got confused and nobody knew where to go. And so now they're all villages. But the problem is, as industry has changed and moved on, a lot of the little towns have just gone into a kind of steady decline. And so there's a lot of young people here. I spoke to a kid actually at one of the academies who he went on a school trip, and he was overwhelmed that there was this place called the Metro Centre, which he didn't even know existed. And that's a 14-year-old boy.
What?
Yeah. And I'm like, how many more kids have not been out of this town?
Yeah, it's just along the road, isn't it? It's not far from it. But I suppose similarly, Biker in Newcastle, I've heard some kids that live in Biker, they've never been to Newcastle city centre.
Yeah.
And I said, what? Like, because they just think it's not for them. There's nothing there for them. And maybe that, because bikers, the wall, you know, maybe they feel like there's that divide because there's a road between them. And I guess it's, yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Really weird. Yeah.
Go
But
on.
I think that a project like this will help them to see, you know, I guess, look back at their own families, look at themselves as individuals, but then see what they can do to benefit their community, and see that there's life beyond your garden fence. You know, even though we're in a time where we're being told not to
Yeah.
communicate and collaborate, it's more now important to ensure that people are collaborating and being creative, because that is what stops these kind of twisted thoughts going on. And a lot of people going through severe depression and isolation at the moment, and fear. You know, get rid of this fear, because there is nothing to be scared of. What is happening regardless. So you better put yourself into a place where you can use creativity to promote that goodness within yourself, you know, and help others to see you can still communicate, you can still connect, and we can create things that people will want to keep with them, and want to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I was going to ask you, well, you can go into more detail about what you think creativity is, but definitely like creative work, it's personal, but it's public at the same time. That's what I like about it, because like a film, you know, a movie or a play or music, whatever, lots and lots of people can experience it, but they all experience it in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what's the, you might not be able to answer that. What do you think of creativity? What is creativity to you?
I actually think that is our natural essence. That's what we are, you know. I mean, and without sounding kind of hippie-ish, that there's a lot of kind of study, and I don't know whether I did an interview a while ago with a guy called Jeremy Griffith, who wrote a book called Freedom, and his whole book is about the human biology and the human condition, and the idea is that we have lost our way, but not because we're bad people, or not because we're, you know, just insane, but we have become kind of reduced, if you like, in our capabilities and advancements to a point, because we're disconnected from our natural instincts. You know, I don't believe we ever were running around with clubs, killing everything, going, "Man must survive." It just, that really is a ridiculous and absurd way. I think we were quite a peaceful species, but when you suddenly become conscious and you have a conflict between your consciousness and your instinct based of what you are animal wise, there is a confusion there. There's a confusion which has happened over many, many, many years, and, you know, thousands of years to where we are now. And that evolution of what we are has kind of created these awful conflicts and panics within us. And I think there's a sense that we need to start kind of healing ourselves again. And creativity is what everybody goes back to. You know, the world around us is always constantly reinventing, being creative, and sprouting new species, sprouting new plants. All these things are happening. So creativity for me is the absolute essence of what we are. And that's where you find not just yourself, but you find out where you belong in your world. It's a brilliant place to be, in that creative essence. You know, it's what makes us what we are.
Right. I think that's the best explanation of creativity I've ever heard.
Oh,
you've just thought of that now, haven't you? You haven't, obviously.
Yeah. I'm now going, ooh, I might write some of that down. It's quite good.
Should do. So D15. So how's that been going then so far? Where are you with that?
Do you know we're there in the way of, we know what the vision is and where we want that to go. I think one of the biggest struggles is the kind of funding side of things. That is just a struggle. A lot of people haven't got any capability to fund things at the moment, and everybody's asking for something from some pot somewhere. But trying to get that financial support under it is very difficult. And obviously for me in the past, even as a producer or something like that, the projects I've worked on have already usually been financed, a lot of them. So I go in and do the job that I'm supposed to do. But this time, setting up new and doing something from scratch, and it's a very ambitious project as well. It's just difficult, you know, and I don't know how quickly or how successful we will be as we go. But you know, Andrea and I just keep saying, well, we just have to keep going. But generally speaking, lots of people are collaborating and talking. Yourself and, you know, a lot of other organizations and individuals have been getting in touch. So there's a want for this. It's just how quickly we can make that happen.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, and it will happen. I think it is just keeping at it, because it's like, yeah, keep knocking on doors and keep talking about it, and then people will gather around the idea. I think that's the thing, is just because of the whole lockdown, a lot of decisions have been delayed and people haven't really known what they can do, or budgets have been cut or frozen or diverted elsewhere, where there's like more urgent needs, you know, like genuine urgent need, especially if you're talking about public sector funding. But yeah, I don't know, there'll be hope. Well, that's why I wanted to do this video as well, because I hope someone or some people or organizations will watch this and go, actually, yeah, we love the sound of that. Let's chuck in some cash and get behind them as a sponsor or a funder or a benefactor or whatever.
Well, that's quite why we set the radio station up as well, because we thought the good thing about that is we've linked with a magazine now, the Washington Way magazine, and they go out to kind of 20,000 people. So we're going to create a Washington Way show as well, so local businesses and people can support D15's activity, but also get promotion on everything we do on NTR Sounds. So we've got that nice little kind of, you know, collaboration going on there. And everybody will then benefit, because people will get to know about each other's work and what they can offer and what they can do. But they get free advertising, which is really nice for them.
Brilliant. So if people want to find out more about the Newtown Radio, where do they go? Is there the website or a Facebook page? Or?
Yeah, there's the Facebook page is there, which is just at NTR Sounds. And it's the same, I think, on Instagram and Twitter. And there's www.ntrsounds.co.uk.
Right. Okay. So check that out if you're watching this. And then D15, you haven't got anything public for that yet?
No, I thought I would kind of hold back, and really until we're up and running, and the project is definitely kind of green lit, and we're going out into the community and accessing the stories. I didn't really want to do the Facebook stuff is all ready to go, but I didn't want to do anything major until we know fine well we're backed and getting that support. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask you a bit about, I mean, some of you, I mean, it's like asking who's your favorite child, I suppose. What's the favorite film or TV that you've done?
Oh, okay. Actually, I did a show last year, which is yet to come out, I think, on Netflix, called The Irregulars.
Okay.
And so far, that has been one of the highlights of work. And it was such a strange character. It was literally one episode that I was in, and it was, I think it's the first episode, and I was playing. Okay, so I was playing a man who gets involved with a girl who then wants to kill his friends.
Right.
And then she kills me, and I play me, the girl wearing my skin.
Oh God.
It's so bizarre. It's so random, but it's all like a period drama.
Right.
It's all around Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that, and these kids who have these little powers, and it's a bizarre show. So dark, but absolutely brilliant. That was one of my favorite jobs for a long time. Yeah. Just the director, the crew, the young talent, they were amazing to work with. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
When's that coming out? Do you know, or are you still waiting?
I think it's due for October on Netflix.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but they keep saying that the launch is coming and then nothing gets done. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they're just holding it in case we go into lockdown again,
Yeah,
and they've got some content to show.
yeah. That sounds right up my street. Okay, I'll look out for that. I'll make sure.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, I was going to say, because we talked before about keeping that link to the Northeast, because you've done, I mean, you've done Our Friends in the North. Was that like your first big kind of breakthrough?
First big TV.
Big TV. And
Yeah.
Vera, you've done Vera,
Yes.
and Wire in the Blood as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then your links to Neil as well, Neil Marshall, the director.
Yeah. Have you had
Dog
three?
Soldiers, The
Yeah.
Descent, Lost. I mean,
Doomsday.
Doomsday, yeah, amazing. So here's the thing: how did that come about? Like, how do you? I'm just imagining this group of actors and directors just hanging out together. Like, how does it?
Yeah, it pretty much happens like that.
You get to know who's doing stuff, and then you just go to the pub or you just hang out and
Yeah.
or whatever. And
It's like yesterday, I did a short with these new filmmakers when we were chatting earlier. And that's what I used to do when I was young. I was always part of little drama groups, and in Sunderland, and even in Shiny Row in Newcastle. And so I would always try and get involved in things, and we would always try and devise our own work as well. So if we couldn't get a job, I remember us putting shows on, and at the time we would turn up at community centres, or we would go to old folks' homes and say, "Can we perform it for your people?" And that's what we did. We used to just harass people, and then eventually somebody would go, "Oh, actually, you've got something there," and then invite you to another group. And I remember at the Tyneside Cinema, they used to have a lot of little workshops and groups, and I would always put myself up and say, "Yeah, I'll do a reading for you, or I'll read your script for you," and then we all started chatting. And Neil Marshall, we did a short together called Combat up in Carlisle, and everybody was paid in beer at the time, and pizza, and it was just brilliant. And he said, "Oh, I've got this script called Dog Soldiers, which is like a werewolf movie," and I was like, "Oh, amazing!" And he said, if it happens, do you want to be in it and be one of the soldiers?" I said, "Yeah, I would love to." And then my agent signed me to a theatre show for 2 years, and then it got greenlit. And so Neil was like, "Do you want to do it?" And I said, "I can't. I'm contracted. Like, I'm doing a show now." And he said, "Well, can you pretend you're sick this weekend, and we'll get you to open the movie?" So I did. I pretended I was ill for rehearsals, and they got me on a plane, flew me out to Luxembourg, I think it was, and we shot the opening tent scene there. And then that was it. From there, we all just became really good friends. And then he asked me to play the Beast in The Descent, which was a cold job, but really good fun. And then obviously Doomsday. When I got the call for that, that was just amazing. So out in South Africa for a few months. Yeah.
Class.
But it's all just, I think that's the only thing you have to do with, if you're trying to get into this industry, because it is a difficult one, is just keep connecting to people and talking. Because that's what happens.
It's like that phrase, like shy Ben's getting out. So you do have to just keep putting yourself forward for stuff. I think like that's the thing that I know. It's like, if you want to be an actor or a writer or whatever, a musician, just be always doing it. Like putting yourself forward for things. And like you say, even if there wasn't something for you, that someone else's thing for you to do, you were creating your own opportunities. And I mean, years and years ago, I used to be a DJ, but I remember the famous DJ who then went on to be mega successful. He always had mixtapes in his pockets. He was always handed out, CDs, mixtapes, That's just what you have to do, isn't it? And you can't go around saying, "I'm an actor," if you're not acting. Or "I'm a writer," but you haven't written anything.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There's a guy, there's quite a famous author now called Stephen Pressfield, and he really wanted to be a writer, but he'd never written anything. So he was telling, he'd never finished a book, never published a book. He was writing, but and it became such a big thing for him. It became a blocker.
Yeah.
But he kept saying, I'm a writer. But this is extreme. He basically decided he was going to live in a log cabin for a year or something like that. And he set himself a deadline. He's like, I'm either going to finish this book or I'm going to kill myself. That was.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not advocating that, right? But it was just
Hang
like,
on. Positive vibes.
it was just like do or die. He was just, look, I've been talking about it for so long. Like, I've just got to get this first book out of my system. And he did it. He finished the book and published it. And now he's gone on to write lots of books since. But yeah, it's just, you can't call yourself a writer or an actor or a singer or whatever if you're not actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, though. There is a bit of a do or die scenario you have to play in your head, in a sense. Like, if I'm, like, at the moment, obviously acting is what generally I'm seen to be an actor, but you can't, you're in the hands of others a lot of the time. So you have to put yourself out there and do other things like writing or producing or even mentoring. So like I mentor a couple of students at the moment, and help. I'm just getting an actress who I'm so chuffed for, because she's now been signed to a top agent and she's already casting and getting out there, and and she was terrified because she thought she wasn't good enough. And I worked with her for about 6 months, 8 months maybe, and over that period of time, and during COVID, we've managed now to get her up, ready, confident, and now working with a professional agent. And she's, she phoned me up the other day going, I'm getting audition after audition, like, and I'm like, this is amazing. She's getting far more auditions than I am at the moment. But to hear her, that she was 25 years old, and she came to me less than a year ago, just looking like she didn't know where she wanted to go or what she wanted to be. She had this feeling. She'd studied, she'd done drama school, she graduated, and then had this confidence crash. And you work with somebody just for a few months and let them see where they can go and what they can do, and suddenly she could see it again, and she's done it. She's out there and working, and is a professional actress now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and that feels good, obviously, for you, that you've been part of it. We talked about that a while ago when about the teacher that from your old school that like believed in you and encouraged you, because I think it's very difficult to be creative or entrepreneur or whatever, do it all on your own.
Yeah,
you do need someone to just believe in you and like say, yeah, you're on the right track, put your arm around your shoulder, or give you a bit of encouragement. I guess that's why you need agents or managers or just someone who's in your corner and backing you up, and you will continue to do your acting. Like you've got lots more film and TV in you, I'm sure, but you're moving into a new era where like you say, the production and creating this new environment for yourself and others as well. That's really exciting, I think.
No, it is. It has been. It's just been like, I think it's that life change that I needed as well. I think I needed to stop kind of waiting for agents to call and kind of getting frustrated with a very changing industry as well. It has gone through masses of change, and there's lots of kind of qualities to this industry that I've never really been comfortable with in the commercial world. And there's things that have had to be addressed and changed, and there's been lots of movements about what's going on in our industry as well. So there's been lots of negative side to it, and I think everybody needed a bit of a pause to say, right, where are you? What are you doing? And COVID for me actually gave me a perfect opportunity to go, where do I want to be going for the next 40 odd years? Because I've never felt satisfied, even though I've been really blessed with some of the jobs and the people I've worked with. I've never felt comfortable, kind of holistically, if you like. So there's been a lot of work on that. So it's exciting. It is.
Good. Well, it's really exciting that you're here, that you're doing this now. So what do you think needs to be done next? Like, you're talking about Newtown. I mean, this is in COVID. I think this is an opportunity for us to rethink like how things are done, how everything's done, and Well, as a region, like the film industry or TV industry, like, do you think it can't be changed, or is it just
I
like?
think it can. I think things can change, and I think they have to. I mean, let's face it, cinemas are going to struggle hugely at the moment. And I've seen a lot of theatres as well suffering, and which is just tragic. And even seeing, you know, some of the layoffs at Northern Stage, for instance, and stuff. When you read that in the paper, you're like, oh, really? Like, how bad is this going to get? But I think there's an opportunity to kind of, in a way, expand what we do by looking in at where we are, you know, because everybody's looking to kind of out there. Where do I go? What's the best thing? How can I, you know, run away to here or get this from there? And actually, there's got to be a way of working inwards in order that we can take stuff out ourselves, you know, and people will then invite us to go somewhere. And production is always difficult anyway, but I think we have to keep investing in each other.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. More than ever before now, collaboration is everything.
Yeah.
And companies that are or have been able to do well, the smaller businesses and the smaller individuals and entrepreneurs who are struggling, there's got to be a way of us pooling our talents together. Like you said before, you can't do it on your own. So the more we collaborate, the better and the stronger we'll be. Yeah. A lot of people tend to feel, if I share my idea, it'll get stolen off me, or they'll take this and they'll do it their way. And I don't think you have to worry about that.
No.
You've just got to make something happen.
Yeah. Love it. Well, this is a good way to end it. So yeah, let's all get behind it and support each other. So it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's always love talking to you, Craig. So good luck with D15 and everything else that you're doing. And if you're watching this, get behind everything that Craig's doing.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Cheers, Craig. All right. I'll see you later.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.